floating shelves in that bathroom and 2 benches and 2 tables in the dining room. That would be phenomenal. We'll be working on finishing up the gardens this week, finishing up the playground this weekend. So really, we will be ready to get in, organize next week. We'll have the fence finished next week, get in, organized. We'll be ready for school on Tuesday. So I met with our landlord, Tom, on yesterday, and because obviously we still have our bathroom, we don't have an ADA bathroom, we don't have an ADA ramp, which you need to have a school in a commercial building. And he's doing a soft inspection with the building inspector tomorrow. He had some hiccups. He tried to do it with an architect and it just didn't work out. So we're really just at a standstill. He has promised me that they will start the work on those projects Monday, won't drag it through till school starting. So that's where that is. Really just time-wise, not much we can do about it. I filed our letter of intent to operate as a private school, and with that you're supposed to have your supporting documentation, your certificate of occupancy for your building. We don't have it. So I sent a letter with it, just saying we're waiting for our landlord to get us that information. So I just want to make sure everybody knows, North Carolina knows that we're here, the state knows we're here, they know about our school. However, it's not, 100% there, it just isn't. And as soon as that paperwork comes in, as soon as that happens, they'll get it. So what that means for you, I'm not really sure actually. I guess you don't really even file for your kids, but if somebody calls and asks where my kids are going to school, it'll be Wilmington Cooperative School. If they call the state has a signed file. So that's kind of how that is working. If you have any questions about enrolling as a homeschooler, if you're a part-timer, or if you'd like to do that because your kids enroll full-time, may not be here full-time. We have a couple of people who have gone through the homeschooling process. Laurel is one of them. She's happy to answer any questions you might have. So our enrollment has gone through some changes. We have lost 4 full-time students and 1 part-time student. With that, we welcome a new family. This is Jillian. Her daughter Harper is going to be coming to school with us. So we're still under enrolled. We, as a board, we talked about some of the things that we needed to do to keep this school fiscally going without those enrollment numbers and without that tuition. And with that, we've asked Stephanie if she can take Fridays off until we become fully enrolled again, because it cuts her salary. It gives us more money to pay the bills to physically be here. So Stephanie, until we're come back into more enrollment, Stephanie's going to have Fridays off.
Twist my arm.
She's very great about scheduling changes, and it is, this is a cooperative school. Nobody has, 50 grand behind it saying, we'll push it through. It's every bit of money. Every student really does count. For themselves and to make the school run. So we are currently at about $3,500 in the bank, and in the last couple months we've taken some big hits. We had to pay our insurance premium in full. We had, fence cost $1,000. We've had some of those big sort of taking out, rent, of course, all those sort of things. But I just want to make sure everybody here knows where we are fiscally in this school. And then that's about it. If anybody has any questions about any of that, get with me after any answers I have. I'll get right to you. And then some stuff for the kids coming in. If anybody here hasn't had their kids in full-time daycare, full-time school, I just want to make you aware your kid's probably going to get sick a lot. I feel like every year it's kind of reoccurring where it's like, maybe the school is like really unhealthy or unsanitary because my kid's coming home sick with a new something every 5 days. They're going past it. So you may experience that if it's your child's first time to school and they don't have siblings or any of those things.
Adults too.
Adults too. A reminder to either put on sunscreen or maybe put on a hat if your kid wears a hat. They're going to be playing outside for the full hour in the morning or 45 minutes in the morning. So be mindful that while we do have some shady spots, we have a lot of sunny spots out there too. So if they're in the garden or whatnot, they may need that extra protection. And then finally, the last thing I have is I want to just go over the supplies that your kiddo will need. And we encourage you to have your kid pick out all these things because really they're for them. A writing journal, they'll be journaling every day here. So a student portfolio, and that will be maintained.
This list is all in here.
It's all in the back of the handbook.
So when you're getting ready to give you, y'all have to write
Yeah,
down.
you guys will get your handbooks today. You'll get your family trees today, and Kenny will go over membership forms with you. A student portfolio, so whatever they're inspired by, and that's where their work will go in and where Stephanie will track their growth throughout the year. A pencil case with his or her preferred tools, fun things that they may want. All this stuff will be kept in their cubbies, which they'll have their cubby buddies outside. A spiral notebook with tear-outable sheets, a refillable water bottle, put their names on it, make sure they know that one's theirs. A change of clothes. I mean, kids are probably gonna get really muddy and really dirty here. We'd hate to have a kiddo here who's gotten soaking wet and just be uncomfortable for the day. And then optional if you guys want it, inside or out, or inside shoes if you want your kiddo changing every time. We're gonna try to ask them to take off their shoes on the cubby porch before they come in, just with lots of mud and stuff. And then daily we'll ask the kids to bring whatever they're reading or just be prepared to share what they're reading literacy wise. Healthful and energy inducing lunch and snack. If your kiddo doesn't have snack anymore, it's not a big deal for them, but the kids here, if they're hungry during reading, they're more than welcome to have an apple or eat whatever they're eating at that point. And then, at least for the beginning here, we'll ask on your support days that you bring in a roll of paper towels and a roll of toilet paper, just to keep the house stocked.
I have everyone's sign-ups here printed out. I want you to look it over, make sure I've got your days and times correct. I still have some holes in the parent aid schedule. So if anybody has, tomorrow I'll put an updated list on Slack again because I had a few fill in some spots today. And if you have a question mark beside your name when you see this, that means you need to see me because there's either an overlap or a missing day, I have some issue with your sign up. So after our meeting, everybody can come and get their days and check over them and make sure they're right. Does everybody understand the days and how that works? Does anybody have a question about the parent aid days and how they're gonna work?
Question over here.
I have a question. So, do we need to make sure that we're gonna be doing an offering and a support day on the days that we sign up? Is that kind of on the schedule?
If you have let me know that you're gonna do an offering, I have it written in
Okay.
here.
Okay. Is that how
Because-
it's working, that we need to let you know?
Mhm.
Okay.
We've made a few changes because Miss Stephanie wants more instructional time, more focused time in the morning. We're asking parents to do offerings in the afternoons. If you've signed up to do an offering in the morning, that's no problem. We can still fit that in. But probably moving forward, most of our offerings, we're gonna ask that you do those in the afternoon so that we can have the reading and more focused time in the mornings. Is that right, Ms.
Yes,
Stephanie?
correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
And yet there are 2 different days, and as much as possible, we really want everybody to offer something. You all have amazing skills, talents. Everybody here has something they're good at and could share with the students. Not everyone has told me what their offering is going to be. I've only had a couple of people actually tell me I'm going to do water cycle or something like that. And I kind of get that. I'm a very spur of the moment sort of person too. I know our first, Miss Stephanie's going to really be focusing on the garden. So anybody who wants to do an offering related to the garden, talk with Miss Stephanie and see what you can do to collaborate and make it all cohesive and better.
If we're doing like an art project that might require glue, do you want us to bring glue sticks for everybody? Or, I mean, obviously the big stuff.
I think we've got glue and
I would
glue
check
sticks
like ahead of
here,
time,
but
see,
yeah,
because we
check
might
ahead
have
of
it,
time.
we might not.
Yeah.
So you could kind of change it around what we have if you don't want to go buy a bunch of stuff, or you could, purchase it. But
Yeah.
if you're trying to keep your budget down, I would just like when you pick your kid up, just like look through and be like, oh, we have these 15 things, we can do that.
And just as a reminder, if you're not comfortable doing an offering on your own, you can also invite someone in to be a guest speaker. Because I know that's not not everybody's excited about doing an offering themselves. So you can always bring a guest speaker to do it for you.
And don't forget, we are so lucky we have a kitchen here. If
Yeah.
you like to cook, you can cook with the kids. My
Yep.
kid loves to cook. So that's always a fun option. And keep in mind, we've got 25, or hopefully we will be back up to 25 students really soon. So you may not use all your materials if you bring enough for all 25, and not every kid is going to want to participate in your offering either. So save your receipts or consider donating whatever's left over to the school. So
Is it depending on the day of the week?
it is.
So it's not always 25?
It's not always 25, no.
At full enrollment, it would always be
It will be
25.
regardless of
Would
the
it?
day.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
There would be 30 families.
Okay.
If they're doing part-time days.
Okay.
Right now, we have 25 children all together, but we have 20 and then 22 on different days. Everybody has a folder? At least one? Yeah?
It's not showing
okay.
up. That's not worried
So in your registration packet.
I'll just email this
the
to
first
everybody.
few pages are an enrollment thing. You don't have to start filling them out right now. I'm just gonna go through and kind of tell you what they're all for, because some of them.
It's okay. This is an ancient
The
computer.
first one is like the main enrollment paper. It has everything that we're gonna need to know about your child. If you've ever been in preschool or a school before, you probably filled those parts out, you know. It has, it covers the field trips and traveling. It really hits all the marks so that we don't have so many individual papers with that stuff in them. And then it talks about, you know, your home lifestyle and just really anything that you're gonna want to have sent into the school. And that's the first few pages, I think 3 or 4. And then the next thing is an emergency contact list. So there's an emergency contact list, a short one in here, but this has everything. This is what we'll take if there is a real emergency. It has permission on the back for the people at the hospital to administer care, because you get caught up in situations like that and you need to have all of this. It has everyone's name on there. Everything you're gonna want anyone to know in an emergency. Yes.
What is his ID number?
Huh?
ID number.
Yeah, for the people that are picking up your kid, they bring their driver's license.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm.
Yeah, well, because
Driver's
that's
license.
universal regardless of if you
Got
have
it.
a driver's license, you can still get your identification
Got
card,
it.
which is the same number that will go on your driver's license. Not everybody has a driver's license, so I know I could do. So then we have our release and hold harmless. There is the main one that focuses on the fact that they're playing in a natural environment, covers that free play, being in a household. And then the next one is that you're acknowledging that your child will be in an environment and they may not have been immunized. They may be in an environment with other children who have not been immunized, and we need that paperwork signed because we are accepting the exemptions. After that is the list that everyone's getting ready to write down. So welcome to WCS. This is everything you need for the day. So we got a bigger one. That's also in the back of your handbook if you lose it. So you're always going to have that. And then there is the more formal medical form that we have to have. This is what you can take to your pediatrician if you want to, but most pediatricians have their own on file. So if you already have something like that, you can just bring that in. This is just ours if you don't, and you can take that in. Right after that is the expectations, and alongside with that medical one, on the back of the medical one, it asks about the immunizations. This is where you either bring us your card or you bring us your exemption or your PA's, request for the medical exemption. Whatever files you're planning on turning in for that, they come in with this, your medical form. And then there's the expectations and responsibilities of families. We really covered this, but this is something we do have to have on file. Most families look at this when they initially apply. It just kind of, you're acknowledging that you're going to serve on a committee, that you pay certain fees, that you're planning on being here and participating. And the very last paper is like a release for any pictures that we take or anything like that. If you, for some reason, don't want your child on our public Facebook or on our website, any type of media recording. We just had the radio conversation from the last fundraiser, if your child's in a picture for that and you don't want that on there, this is where you need to sign it, and we will make sure that it doesn't go up. So, y'all, you can try to fill them out today. We would like to get all of them back as soon as possible. We may set up a way for them to drop them off here.
Oh, yeah, you can drop them off here anytime, too. Just make sure they go on the desk at the front.
Yeah, yeah.
If by chance you forgot your checkbook tonight,
Bring it to you.
do you want it dropped off here, or do you want it dropped, where would you like it dropped?
Yeah, I'll put a lockbox in here in the next week by like
Okay.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
So if it's not, if you guys don't have your checkbook or whatever, you can't pay. If you wanna bring it in on the 1st or get it.
online, right?
Yeah, you can pay it via PayPal, just make sure it's a gift.
Oh, okay.
Gift to a friend, so that way we don't get any money taken out of it.
So, there's places where that's for physician signature. Is that really neat? I mean,
Well, so, like my physician, my boys had a checkup midsummer, and she gave me like the kindergarten enrollment form that was already signed, so you just staple that enrollment form to there, and that's their signature.
okay.
If you've already done it, and you already have their signature, that they're all good medically. You're all good. Staple it to it. Yeah, exactly.
We don't have a physician's signatures following on what he said. Do we need to go get it? Or what?
I mean, I don't know that we'll be like, your kid can't come to school because we don't have the physician's signature, but I mean, yeah, you know.
That's probably
Well,
just call
I
their
mean,
office without making an appointment.
Yeah, call their office, be like, can I stop by and grab a signature?
Well, I guess I'm asking if we need to do that or not. If it's a yes,
Yes,
it's a
I mean,
yes.
if you can, yes, yes,
Most
absolutely.
physicians, if you had a physical sometime in this last year, if they had a well-child checkup, will just fill out
We'll
the
just
form.
sign
They
it.
won't even
yeah.
Because they're not
email it
gonna
to
get
you.
paid by your insurance
Yeah.
company to do it again anyway.
It's something that they're already expecting to do when your kids are 5. Like my doctor just asked me.
Their daughter's older.
Yeah, yeah.
Our daughter's 10, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, so yeah, that would be, you might just have to go, if she's had one, you can try to get that in.
So can we use the one from the previous
And if it's,
year?
and if it's a big deal, if
It
it's
depends on
hard.
your doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
So, well, like my son won't have his next well check until he's 7. So can I use the one that I used for his? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, the state wants us to have it, but
There's not a
like,
really
it
like
is
time
not
limit
up
on
to
when
me to
it
go
comes
make
in.
sure that you're done.
Yeah, it's not a time limit for when it comes in, we're just supposed to have, you know.
We're supposed to have a form, it doesn't really matter what information is contained on it.
We're just
Like,
trying to dot all our i's and cross all our
Yeah.
t's.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, you know, we're erring probably on the side of more forms than we need, but we felt to secure the school and make this place a secure place for all of our kids. So just do the best you can.
Are there any families here that are planning on being part-time or full-time that are going to be homeschooling instead of actually enrolled in the private school, aside from myself? Okay, is everyone comfortable with with knowing that if your child's under 7, we don't have to do anything right now at all? We just don't. Once they're 7, if they're gonna be 7 in January, I would go ahead and get the ball rolling because you can send it in a month early. But other than that, you just have to send in your request to be a homeschooler. If you are 7, they'll approve it. You don't have to list the school at all. I've talked to Riley, this is not a secondary household for your homeschool. This is a co-op that you're like a 4-H style group that your homeschool dropping in when you come in. So all you have to do is if you're over 7, register for a homeschool. If you have any questions about it, you can contact me or Laurel. But if you're under 7 or you're private schooling, nothing. The private school gets run through us registering your child, and if you're under 7, they have no legal requirements to do anything.
Just to clarify, so if your child is 7 or older,
And they're homeschooled.
you guys are gonna register our kids, or do we have to register?
For
If you're
homeschool?
full-time, then.
No, for full-time. If you're full-time, this will be your child's school. So if like a social worker calls you and says, hey, where's your kiddo going to school this year? You say, Wilmington Cooperative School, 4830 Randall Parkway.
Yes.
You know, the chief administrator is
Okay,
Basha
and
Chris.
we're full-time, it's still even though we don't have a teacher on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full-time
Because
has
our
to do
parents
with
go
how
out.
much time the student is at the school.
Is learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the school's still running on Fridays. I'm just not gonna be here.
We could have a private school without ever actually having a teacher. We would be the
Because
teachers.
we are educated people and we're her substitutes. When she's not here, we are her stand-in.
Yeah.
We are teaching the children.
It's like having a long-term sub when a teacher
Private
goes on
schools
maternity leave.
of this year, private schools have moved over to a listing where they are considered like homeschooling. It is all under one uniform, non-public education. I was talking with Riley this morning just to make sure that, you know, everything with the new reform is good with that. And because they're now operating that way, they don't have to have those kind of requirements. If we move to charter school, that would be a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah,
But
charters
private
are public.
school, yeah, it's very, very different. So, yeah, everything's being covered. And so I just want to make sure that, but we are registering children that are 5 and 6, correct?
Oh yeah, I mean everybody who is
As long as they
everybody
can.
who's registered full time here will take attendance every day, and the state requires attendance and immunization
Yeah,
records.
I don't think
period.
that legally the
For an
state
audit, a
cares
yearly
about those
audit.
paperwork
And
when they're
that's-
under 7, but we will be keeping it and still, just like the public school chooses to keep it and file it, it will be filed, so, yeah. And if you, like she said, if you have any other questions about that, me or Laurel will be more than happy to help you out.
I put together a cute little PowerPoint, but we're not.
We can see it if you flip your screen.
There you go. It's mostly just so I don't forget what I'm saying. I was asked to go over some like expectations and procedural type things with you guys. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to upload a copy of this PowerPoint into Slack, so everyone will have access to it. And I'm recording a video of all this too. So if you missed something, you can always just go back and watch the video later. If you left a spouse at home and they want to see what happened, then they can watch the video too. Yeah, my screen is not liking me. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to go over if you ever want any of us to write you like a letter of recommendation or be a reference for you in a professional aspect, that's kind of a benefit for you guys also. So the first thing with professionalism is making sure we're on time. And you guys were pretty much on time, so I'm not worried about that. We talked a little bit about how long parents can stay during drop-off. Originally I was thinking like, yeah, let's green light parents staying like the whole day if they want to come in extra days. But then it was brought to my attention like, if everybody does that, it's going to be kind of crowded in here. It's already kind of crowded just with the adults. Could you imagine like with all the kids also running around? It would be kind of a cramped space in the room. So the happy compromise I came up with for that is when the kids are outside doing their morning play, everyone is welcome to stay for that to kind of transition them into their day. But then once we start coming inside for circle time and the more instructional stuff, if you're not aiding that day, that's when we're going to ask you to go ahead and head out. And I figured that was just kind of the best way to meet everyone's needs. You know, I really don't like the idea of saying you're not welcome or anything, because obviously it's co-op, everyone's welcome, that you're required to be here. But just as far as like meeting fire code and not being too busy or distracting, I think, you know, we have to set some sort of limits so we don't have too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. Communicating effectively and efficiently, I think that's pretty easy. If you have any questions, you put them in Slack. A lot of people have been doing that already, and you're doing a great job. So keep up with Slack. And you got your phone call tree thingy, so if you need to call out, if you're going to be running late, you have everybody's phone numbers, you know the people to call. So make sure you do that. Appropriate attire. So usually when you talk about professionalism in a school setting, it's like wear your suit. We're not wearing suits. I'm wearing yoga pants and keens, okay? So I want you to show up wearing something super comfortable. We're gonna be outside, we're gonna be active with the kids, as active as possible. You know, I really hope that this will be a fun learning experience for everybody, including the adults, and that we'll get out there with the kids and get dirty with them and, you know, have fun. So that being said, you may also want to bring an extra set of clothes for your aid days, or, you know, make sure you're wearing something comfortable and weather appropriate. there's a saying in Germany, I believe it is, there's no such thing as weather that's bad, only inappropriate dress. So keep that in mind. Dress in layers. When it gets colder out, we're still going to be outside, which is hard for me. I moved here from the Caribbean, so I'm going to be freezing. But you know, we'll deal with that together, and I'll try to be as warm as possible. For shoes, like I said, I'm wearing my Keens. I actually have some rain boots that I plan on wearing a lot. They'll double as my garden boots. And same as the kids, we may want to leave our shoes outside. If you have like bad feet, like I'm, not to be TMI, but I'm getting bunions right now. Isn't that exciting? So I may want to get a separate pair of shoes that are comfortable for me that I can wear inside too, so I don't ruin my feet.
Though, do you have a particular kind of footwear you want them to be?
Whatever is
long or
comfortable.
outside, doesn't matter.
Whatever is comfortable. If your kid wants to wear flip-flops, I know that can be a battle. Everyone loves flip-flops so much. But you know, just know that like if you're not protecting your little toes, that you know you might scrape them or trip on something. So I'll let you choose your battles with the footwear. Yes, ma'am.
I think super quick, just good to note. Let's make sure we're talking to our kids even before they start school about two pretty important rules. One, no climbing the pallet fence. It looks inviting for them. Let's not have them climbing it. I mean, it's sound, but a pallet to the head wouldn't be good. Two, keep their shoes on outside. I mean, there's glass around outside. I mean, it is what it is. So, you know, if we talk to our kids about this and then we reiterate it at the schoolhouse, they'll be all good.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a lot of good safety chats for inside and outside, for sure. It'll be an ongoing process. Did you have a question too?
No, it because I have done lots out there, and I have come up with buckets of glass.
Oh, I'm
I mean,
sure.
It just is coming up. There's glass.
Okay, so with that in mind, maybe not so much the flip-flops.
They'll be safe out there in flip-flops.
yeah,
Just, I mean, we picked up most. I mean, we've gone through I think every square inch of this yard at this point.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a shoe battle with their kid.
Yeah, no kidding. They're the worst. I'm hoping that part of our professionalism is that we're going to be very supportive of one another. I know we're not always going to see eye to eye on everything. That's just going to happen when you have such a large group of people. Everybody's different. We all have different values. So if we just try to model that respect for each other, especially in front of our kids, you know, if you have to gripe about it, just do it later with your girlfriends over a glass of wine. You know, it's not for the kids. And I also ask that everybody try to be flexible and reflective. So when being flexible means like, you know, sometimes people will call out and it might not be your cover day, but we might call you anyway and ask you, hey, sorry it's last minute, but can you come into the school? Just, you know, try to keep an open mind about that. And being reflective is kind of, it's an interesting concept. In public school, teachers are in like survival mode and they're like, oh, just let me get through this day. Let me get through this week. Let me get to Christmas. And in public schools, we didn't really have a lot of time to go back and think about what went well and what the kids liked and what was good for the kids and what maybe was not so great for the kids. But that's an advantage of being here. We're all going to be able to, you know, get together and chat with each other about what's working well, what's not working well, and what we can do to improve over time. And I mentioned this, yeah, that was Courtney out there, I think. I mentioned this at one of our previous meetings, but just to reiterate, let's try to leave the cell phones, you know, somewhere else. I have a Fitbit, so if like I get an emergency call, my wrist goes off, but you know, you can check them throughout the day. I understand, like when you, especially if you're leaving your smaller ones somewhere else, or you have even your older ones somewhere else, and you want to check and make sure that they're okay, that's totally fine, I get that. But if we're not carrying them around and staring at them all day, then, you know, that'll keep us more present, focused on the kids. So and because we have 3 people at a time, we're going to be able to give each other little breaks, like, hey, go take 5, I got this. And you can go run and check your phone, use the bathroom, whatever. So
Is there a phone line here? I'm sorry.
There is a landline.
Gets installed tomorrow.
That's right. That's right. So exciting.
So like if there's
can give that.
like what I will always tell people, if it's an emergency,
Yes.
don't call my cell phone, call me here.
Yes.
But do not call unless it's an emergency.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, great.
Exactly. this screen. Sorry guys, this laptop's on its last legs. Okay, so moving on to the actual instruction, I've gotten quite a few questions about this. We're going to try to keep things as Montessori as possible, meaning it's not only just student-centered, but student-led, which is pretty different from most schools. So the question here says, what does that look and sound like? So my example to illustrate this is actually a story. One day, Pasha and I were at Greenfield Lake, and we had our kids there. This is like back earlier in the summer when we had time to do stuff. So we went to Greenfield Lake, and our kids are checking out the alligators. They're like right up next to the dock thing. And was it Decker who asked about the alligator? I think it was Decker who asked about it. He says something about feeding the alligators, and we're like, no, you don't feed the alligators, okay? That's new. And he says, why? And my like gut instinctual response is, it's against the rules. Like, that's such a teacher thing. It's against the rules, end of discussion. And Pasha comes up and she's like, got this wonderful explanation, right? And she says, well, buddy, you see, you don't feed the alligators because we don't want them to become too dependent on people. And when that happens, you know, they're not going to be able to survive very well on their own. Like, very in-depth, wonderful explanation.
I've responded why we don't feed wildlife before.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it was well rehearsed.
Yeah.
But in my actual spare time, I reflected on that and I thought, wow, her answer was so much better than mine. But that's an advantage of having multiple people around to help answer these questions. And to take that one step further, and this will be like the ultimate goal. We didn't reach the ultimate goal that day, but this is like what we're gonna work towards, all of us. What if instead of answering the question with my junky, it's against the rules, and Pasha's very eloquent, the wildlife response, what if we just asked him, well, what do you think? This does two things. It keeps him really involved and it creates deeper thinking for him. It also allows him to give us a little bit of information about what he knows. This is, in education it's called informal assessment, but that's what it is, a conversation where you're pulling more and more information out of the kids and they will surprise you with how much they know about alligators and just about anything else under the sun that they show interest in anyway. And I give that story just so we can kind of start to get in that mindset where we're going to start biting our tongues a lot and sitting on our hands a lot, and it's easier to do stuff for kids, but this is really our chance for the kids to do things on their own and to discover on their own. And I've got a cute little picture here of a sculpture. My grandma was a teacher too, and she said she loved being a teacher because kids were like these little balls of clay that she could mold and shape and do what she wants. She was very manipulative. Like she was. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. But you know, that's how a lot of people look at teaching. You know, these kids are like these empty vessels and we just dump all this knowledge in them. And to extend the clay metaphor, I'm really hoping that at our school, we're gonna give kids tools, we're gonna give them the chisels, we're gonna give them maybe an instruction on how to do all the sculpting themselves, and they get to pick how they mold themselves, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I spent so long thinking of that metaphor. I love it. Come on, computer, don't die on me now. Okay, discipline, rules. Pasha addressed some of the rules. I have two of them, and there's a lot of theory that goes into making rules, like don't make too many rules because it's too hard to remember, and don't do the negative thing, which I'm doing. I'm saying don't do this, don't do that. Imagine if I was your teacher, your students right now, and I said, don't sit down, and you're all sitting down. Well, what do you want me to do? Do I stand up? Do I lay down? Do I do the coffee grinder, start breakdancing? What do I do? So one of the things about rules is you have to tell kids like what they actively need to be doing rather than what they're not supposed to do. So to rephrase the fence thing, if we just say be respectful of yourself, be respectful of our school, of our property, of our beloved fence, be respectful. So we're gonna talk a lot of like that whole first week, the whole lesson for that week, like what does being respectful look like? How do we be respectful to others? And the other rule is obviously to learn. This is a school, we gotta learn stuff. And that's it. I have 2 rules. Very easy for the kids to remember. I'll probably post them somewhere. And they'll start calling each other out, like, oh, rule number 1, rule number 2, are you learning? They police each other, it's really cute. Okay, so for conflict resolution, because obviously not everyone follows the rules, and that's okay, we're rebels. So I tried to come up with like a procedure for us to address conflicts. If you don't feel like dealing with that, you can just send kids to me. But if you want to deal with it, this is how we deal with it. We're gonna try to be gentle and not yell, which is hard for us sometimes, especially if they're doing something like super dangerous, like, ah, get away from there. So the procedure number 1 is to make sure that everybody calms down. Let's say Johnny and Susie are fighting over a pencil, right? These Johnny and Susie, they're rapscallions. So Johnny's coloring with this colored pencil and Susie takes it. And Johnny's like super, super angry. And they start an altercation. So you go over and you're like, hey, what's going on? So first and foremost, you have to remain calm. So find your inner peace. What was that lady saying at the yoga fundraiser? Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. We're going to do a lot of that. Yes, that was super. Peace begins with me. So, you know, help them calm down, like breathe. Quit screaming, Johnny, just chill out. Let's talk about this. What's going on? So once you calm them down, another big move is like get on their level. Hey Johnny, what's up? I see you, I'm on your level. There's like this unspoken body language if you're standing up and you're like all authoritative, Johnny. It's just like this unspoken body language thing. So once you get on Johnny's level and you're like, hey, calm down, breathe. What's going on? Johnny's like, Susie took my pencil is what's going on. So you repeat it back. If anyone has ever like taken a psychology class or been to therapy or anything, this is a big move. Repeat it back. Clarify. Okay, Johnny, I understand you're upset. You gotta validate the feelings. Johnny, I know you're upset. I would be upset too. So Susie took your pencil. Is that all? Sometimes there's more. You never know. So you talk to Johnny about what's going on, then you go to Susie, you're like, hey, what's going on? Why did you take the pencil? Do you think that was respectful? Do you remember what rule number 1 is at the school? So, you know, you go through this process where you clarify the problem, you're talking to them, you're asking them, was it respectful? Were there any rules broken? And then, this is huge, guys, because this cuts down on tattletales, and that gets so irritating. Try to help them figure out their own solution. Okay, well, Susie, Johnny wasn't finished with that. Oh, door.
Hold on, I'm old, I don't move that fast. Sorry.
Bienvenidos. All right, so you want to get the input from both parties and say, okay, so this is, what do you think is going to solve this problem? And sometimes, long story short, sometimes they're not going to come up with their own solution, and you're going to ask them for alternatives and compromises, and at the end of the day, if they can't come up with that, then you can send them to me, or just say, all right, well, at some point you do have to be explicit, like, all right, well, Susie, that wasn't respectful. It was Johnny's turn to use the pencil. He can tell you when he's finished with it. You know, you get to a point where you do have to be explicit, because sometimes they get onto your mind games and they know, like, oh, well, I didn't think I was disrespectful. Yeah, whatever, Susie. Susie's full of it sometimes. So, yeah, I mean, basically you want to encourage students to do their own problem solving and come up with their own solutions, but at the end of the day, if they don't, you can come up with a solution for them, that's fine. Now, as far as punishments, I don't have like a strong, fast set of punishments. I don't believe in like punishing all the kids when one kid screws up. I think that's totally unfair. And I'm all about what's fair. I found this cute little graphic here about equality versus equity. It's floating around on Facebook. Some of you might have seen it. It's these kids who are trying to watch a baseball game. So there's a tall kid, a medium kid, and a very short kid, and they're each standing on one box. And the short kid, even though he's standing on the same height box and he has the same amount of boxes as everybody else, he's still too short and can't see over the fence, okay? So that's equality, when everyone gets the exact same thing, versus equity, where they went and gave the short kid a second box to stand on so he can still see, and it came from the tall kid who didn't even need the box to begin with. Okay, so that's kind of an equity versus equality thing. And I wanted to bring that up as far as punishments go, because everybody is different. You know, so what do we do with Susie? Like, she broke a rule, she wasn't respectful, she needs to think about it. Some kids are really great with having like a timeout, like time to themselves, to chill out, to reflect on what's going on. My daughter gives herself timeouts. Like, we don't even call it that. She just gets really upset and like runs to her room crying, and like comes out 5 minutes later and she's like totally cool. It's like a whole new Ellie comes out. So yeah, I know. It doesn't always happen that way, but when it does, I'm like, yes, just go deal with it yourself. And that works for her. Some kids, you might put them in timeout and they're that like really active kid who might want to work out their frustrations physically. So if I gave Susie a timeout and she's just the fidgety type, she's just gonna get really, really upset with you. Like, it's gonna make it worse for Susie in particular. So Susie's punishment might, for her to like unwind and calm down and whatever. And I can't even call it a punishment. It's not a punishment, it's like calm down time. So for her to think about what she did, she might actually need to go outside and pull weeds in the garden or walk around or something. Supervised, of course, but you know, each child's going to need something different as far as consequences. So I just wanted to point that out. Some kids are good at coming up with their own consequences, and some kids, we're just gonna have to get a feel for them every time and say, no, you're not gonna go sit in the corner because last time you did that, you were just more fuming and you were ready to pick a fight. So we try something different. And again, that's, you know, there's not a catch-all for everybody. I try to treat each case differently. The last thing I wanted to go over, if your kid was ever in public school, you've probably seen this. What's this mean? No? No? No?
Be quiet.
Aha!
Yeah.
Yes, peace and quiet. I don't know if that's actually supposed to stand for peace, but I'm like, oh, it's a peace sign. I like it. We're not going to use that very much, but on the rare occasion that we do need to use it, like if I have like a really super important announcement to make, that's what we're going to do. Because most kids who were in public school will transition well, so that they'll recognize it. But yeah, the peace and quiet, I like it. Peace begins with me, guys. So that is all I have for you guys today. Did anyone have any questions for me before we move on?
At my kid's public school that and I have to go potty, so my kids.
That's number 2.
Warning, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
We're probably going to use this
Yes.
toilet.
I don't have a question, but I did want to, I forgot that on the list in here of items that you need to bring, it says the tear out spiral notebook and then the journal. If your kids are in kindergarten, first, second, or third, then if you choose to give them the primary stuff, that's fine, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because Ellie's gonna have like a primary.
Like the big 3-line
That's all they
thing.
have.
the upstairs
A
and down-
tear
yeah.
out, a tear out spiral notebook with primary ruling in it is like $12 because it's so rare to find. Because primary through kindergarten is, kindergarten through third grade usually has those primary ruling notebooks that are offered. So just in case anyone's looking, trying to find one that was spiral, you don't have to do that. You can bring in just the big
Yeah,
tablet.
whatever. I'm not picky. Whatever they can
Yeah.
write and draw in.
Yeah.
It's fine. Good thoughts. Any other thoughts? Cool. Well, I'm looking forward so much to working with everyone's kids and getting to know everybody.
So my questions always come later, so I can put them on Slack.
That's
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Be reflective. Think on it. That's fine. I have one more thing I wanted to mention that I didn't put in the presentation. We talked about the portfolios. I am likely going to also have digital portfolios where I kind of type a narrative about everyone's progress. And I'm going to put those in Dropbox. So each of you will have a Dropbox shared file with me for your child. You're not gonna be able to see anybody else's. You know, I'm really a stickler for confidentiality and, you know, people minding their own business. So that's all gonna be very confidential. It'll stay on a locked laptop. Probably not this one. I'm gonna get a new laptop. Actually, I saw computer wire coming in. I need.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
a computer.
I know. I need to talk to them.
Yeah.
I need to talk to them. I got a new laptop that I need reset. So it'll be a very locked laptop.
Does anybody else have any questions about, you know, operations or any of those other things?
Is this gate out front gonna be locked?
It'll be locked.
And then if you needed to get in?
We'll
or
we'll
something?
have a buzzer out there.
Okay.
Jay
It's all
has already
fine.
taken care of it. Is everybody comfortable with that?
The kids won't be outside by themselves, right?
They will not be
No.
outside by themselves.
That's the beauty of having the 3 adults is that
Yes.
even if there's a group outside, a group in here, and a group, like 2 groups in those rooms back there, there's a person there, a person here, and a person there. So, I'll always be super nice.
Good questions.
Yeah. And that could also be something to talk to them about, you know, about not wandering away from, you know, if
That'll
they
be
are
part of our
outside.
safety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna go over it, and that's just another thing, but parents are always talking about that anyways, you know, you guys do, so they're aware.
That's true.